The world is a scary place where danger lurks around every corner. These are the incredible, true-life stories of people who face their most desperate hour and live to tell about it. Tonight, a rocket fuel factory explodes, sending shockwaves through the Nevada desert. Plus, a cop fears for his life when a suspect opens fire at point-blank range. And a bobsled spins out of control, sending its riders on a terrifying downhill plunge. Then, a massive cloud of poisonous gas erupts from one of the world's deadliest volcanoes. And a spectacular crash sends a stock car flying. Can the driver possibly survive? These are images so startling, so awesome, so unbelievable, you may think that you're watching a movie, but you're not. Everything you are about to see is real. Real people, real danger, real excitement. Get ready to experience the thrill of a lifetime. You are about to witness the world's most amazing videos.
On a cold, windy morning, Daredevil Lee Oman entertains the crowd.
Hanging on that bar between the wheels of Jimmy Franklin's aircraft, Lee Oman. He's walking along. Everything is fine and dandy.
Little does Lee know his life will soon be hanging by a thread. Hillsboro, Oregon. Lee attempts one of the most dangerous stunts ever conceived, the death-defying axle hang. Lee battles icy 200-mile-per-hour winds more than 1,500 feet above the ground. His airshow buddies Neil Granley and Bill Amarada are on hand to watch his new stunt.
Lee was out there for quite a long time. I thought, my gosh, he's going to have trouble getting back up.
Think of the chill factor with the plane going as fast as it is, and that wind on Lee is frozen.
Cold and weak, Lee tries to pull himself back up, but his strength gives out. Suddenly, he slips from the bar. Now, a thin cable is the only thing keeping him from plunging to his death.
A problem has happened on the airplane. Lee Oman's use of the safety wire did come into play. He would have fallen off the airplane completely if it hadn't been for the safety equipment.
Lee is in big trouble and needs help fast. Pilot Jimmy Franklin attempts a dangerous dive, hoping to flip Lee back up to the plane. The daring maneuver doesn't work. Jimmy's plan is quickly abandoned for fear that Lee will be slung into the plane's propeller. Then, just when all hope seems lost, his buddies on the ground come up with their own rescue plan and race off to the runway.
The plan was to get the truck, match the speed of the aircraft, and get Lee.
But time is running out, and the aircraft is dangerously low on fuel. The driver of the truck must precisely match the speed of the plane. The slightest error could be disastrous. Lee is carefully lowered to within inches of the truck. Then, the men make a life-saving catch.
Lee had said to me after I'd grabbed him, he says, "Don't let go of me." And I said, "I won't."
The fellow in the truck with me said, "Jim, we've got him." At that point, Jim put power on and started to fly away.
Now the safety wire that had saved Lee's life is threatening to pull all of the men out of the truck. Their lives hang in the balance. But fortunately, they are able to cut the wire and free themselves just in time.
Jim, we got him. He's in the truck. He's in the truck.
I looked up and it just sounded like a .357 Magnum going off. And then we all fell back down in the truck.
A true showman, Lee signals to the crowd that he's okay. But this close call almost cost him his life.
A lot of things could have gone wrong. We think we just sort of accomplished a miracle.
Thanks to his fearless friends, aerial stuntman Lee Oman cheated death that day and lived to tell about it.
Was that a show or what?
Anchorage, Alaska. It's a quiet summer day at the zoo when the calm is shattered by a blood-curdling scream.
Oh my God.
Tourist Catherine Warburton has wandered too close to the polar bear cage, and one of the wild animals has grabbed her. She is trapped in the wild beast's mammoth paws and gnashing teeth.
Can somebody call someone?
Somebody's coming.
Get a tranquilizer gun!
Zookeepers battle the 2,000-pound bear, desperately trying to free Catherine from the creature's powerful grip. Just when it appears that the bear is winning the life and death struggle, the rescuers manage to pry the battered woman loose. Catherine drops to the ground, writhing in pain. She suffers lacerations and a broken leg.
Stay back.
Has anyone called you?
While recovering from her injuries at the hospital, Catherine relives her nightmare at the zoo.
Looking back, it was the dumbest thing I've ever done in my life, that's for sure.
Oh my God.
Ever since Catherine's horrifying ordeal, zoo officials have taken drastic measures to prevent attacks like this
Get a tranquilizer gun!
from ever happening again.
Emergency. We need the fire department. All you can get here immediately. What's the problem? We just had a big explosion and everything's on fire.
Henderson, Nevada. An earth-shattering explosion in a rocket fuel factory rocks this small desert town.
This explosion is huge. This is scary. It looks like a mini atomic bomb, actually, when it goes off.
Rodney McCarroll is working in a nearby factory when he feels the blast. He recalls the panic.
I remember a man running down the road, run. The place is going to be blown off the earth.
The sound was instantaneous. It was just huge. And then you could see the shock wave rolling across the ground at you.
The shock wave is so powerful that it destroys much of the town.
At that point, I felt that anybody who was within the area surely must have lost their life.
Got out of our cars and started walking, and the explosions just blew us straight up in the air. Unbelievable.
Oh, it just blew again.
It threw me about 60 feet through the air and put me through the wall of the office.
There were people running out of the desert. I mean, a lot of people running out of the desert that had been injured by falling down or, the blast had blown them sometimes 50 and 75 feet.
Still trapped inside the burning factory is Roy Westerfield. He knows that without emergency help, his friends will die. So instead of saving himself, he stays behind to call 911.
Fire department of the engineering, 8201 Gibson Road. In Henderson. Emergency. We need the fire department. All you can get here.
Roy's courage doesn't surprise his wife, Janet.
I don't think that he was even concerned with himself at all. Roy just wanted to get his people out of the building. He wanted them to be safe.
Because Roy is disabled and has difficulty walking, he knows he can't make it out in time. But he refuses to let his friends risk their lives to help him escape.
He knew that if they tried to help him, all that would have happened was they would have added one more casualty onto the list.
Seconds later, another blast.
Wow, it's inferno.
With a force equal to a 3.5 magnitude earthquake, it's the biggest explosion yet.
Feel it deep?
You can't tell me people got out of that.
Oh, no.
Now the town looks like a war zone.
And it was the eeriest feeling. Driving down this road, there was debris all over the asphalt road. And there were cars parked along the side. I had no idea of where all these people had gone. Had they all been killed in the explosion?
The injured are rushed to the hospital in desperate need of medical attention.
Henderson was shut down. Henderson was physically, absolutely shut down.
Tragically, the one person who stayed behind to call for help didn't survive. Roy Westerfield never had a chance to save himself because he put the lives of others first.
Because of his courageousness, his understanding of who he was, kept a lot of people from losing their lives.
He had to do what he felt was the right thing to do. We were very proud of what he did. He would have wanted to do that for everybody.
Pacific Engineering in Henderson. Emergency. We need the fire department. All you can get here immediately.
What's the problem?
Oh, we got everything's on fire.
What do you mean everything, sir?
Our plant. We just had a big explosion and everything's on fire.
Okay, what's the name of the business?
Pacific Engineering. We're Gibson Road and the Los Angeles Henderson cutoff.
Okay, I got that, sir. We'll send somebody right over.
Get them all.
I remember after the third explosion, and the phone line went dead, I thought to myself that there's a lot of people in this community that owe their life to him.
Coming up, a hellish blast sends a firefighter up in flames. Plus, a routine traffic stop turns into a cop's worst nightmare. And a raging river swallows a group of terrified teens, and a courageous rescuer is their only hope for survival. Then, a bobsled careens out of control as its riders hang on for dear life when the world's most amazing videos returns.
San Diego, California. Lifeguard Charles Davy is demonstrating how to fight a fire at sea. News cameraman Paul Makarushka is covering the drill, which he expects to be routine.
That's how it was supposed to be. Go down there and get some video of them training on how to put out fires. I wasn't even going to talk to anybody. It was just going to be just a video.
After dousing the boat with gasoline, Charles gets ready to torch it. But he gets a lot more than he bargained for. The gasoline fumes ignite, causing a huge explosion. Charles disappears from sight.
I didn't know if he was alive or if he was dead. I thought he was dead. I really did. I didn't think anyone could survive.
The fireball knocks Charles off his feet and the boat is completely engulfed in flames. Seconds pass and still no sign of him. Then, just as a rescue team pulls alongside the burning wreckage, Charles emerges from the fiery inferno.
My breathing apparatus had got hung up on the bottom of the boat, and all I could think of was the boat's going to go down and I can't get up, or I'm going to burn.
Once free, Charles barely escapes the flaming death trap. With no time to lose, he dives into the water and swims to safety.
I knew I was in trouble when I was 6 feet in the air and my feet were above my head and there was flames everywhere.
Watch closely. You can actually see Charles fly into the air. It's amazing that he survives.
I'm very lucky. I'm very lucky to get out with my life.
The day before his near-fatal accident, Charles found out that his wife, Janine, was pregnant. Now there are 2 extra people who are glad that he survived. His newborn twins, Max and Sydney. Taipei, Taiwan. The National Assembly is a place for courtesy, respect, and the thoughtful exchange of ideas. Not an exchange of punches. When 2 opposing parties can't come to terms, they settle their arguments with their fists. This representative is so fed up, he's about to take matters into his own hands. Snorting mad, he marches up to his esteemed colleague and punches him right in the mouth. When all is said and done, several legislators are taken to the hospital with bloody lips and bruised egos. proving that lawmaking can be a very dangerous business. Cedar Hill, Texas.
I've got somebody in the vehicle now. Stand by.
Officer Aaron Barnes approaches a motorist parked a few hundred yards from a car dealership. The business has been the target of several robberies, so Barnes has reason to be cautious.
How you doing, sir? Huh?
The suspect says he stopped to use the bathroom, but Barnes is suspicious.
What are you doing over there? Why don't you put your hands on top of the hood for me? Put your hands on top of the car for me.
The officer begins to search the driver.
What do you say? I want to pat you down, make sure you ain't got any weapons or anything. Who else is with you? By myself. That's it? What is this? Die? You got any ID on you?
Officer Barnes checks his license, but what the officer doesn't know is the suspect has a gun on the front seat. He used it to kill a man less than 30 minutes earlier.
Where you come? Why don't you put your hands right there, okay? Put your hands up here. Put your hands up here. Put your hands up here.
The suspect grabs his gun and fires at point-blank range. Officer Barnes hits the ground, then opens fire as the suspect escapes. Seconds later, a backup police unit arrives. Barnes cries out from the darkness.
Tell me he's all I think he shot me. He's in the field behind the school. He's in the field running towards the car company. Have I been shot? Where you at? I'm right here.
As soon as I grabbed his head, I could feel a wetness in his hair. And I thought that it was blood because he said that he'd been shot.
Where you hit? I think I'm hitting the head. Look at in a minute, Jesus. Lay down, okay? Oh, God.
To hear him and those screams for help over the radio, and then when you grab him and he just wilts in your hand, you think, you know, dear God, what's happened to him?
But luck was on Officer Barnes' side. What he felt was the gun's muzzle blast, not a bullet.
Until I got laid down and got still, that is the first time that I realized that I wasn't hit.
After an intensive 3-hour manhunt, the suspect is finally apprehended. Officer Barnes' near-fatal encounter has changed his life forever.
I never saw the gun until he actually turned around, spun around, and put it to my head. That's the first time that I saw the gun.
And that's when he made the move that saved his life.
So I tried to pull the gun down. I knew I couldn't take a headshot. I knew I'd never survive a headshot. And so I said I'd take it in the chest. I had a vest on, and I figured that it would stop the penetration.
As the officer wrestles for the gun, the suspect pulls the trigger. Fighting for his life, Officer Barnes fears that his children will see him die on this videotape.
After it went off, you know, I thought I didn't want to die. I had my kids, and I didn't want them to see this.
We do have an officer down.
To this day, Barnes is overwhelmed by all the support he has received from his fellow officers.
We had a departmental meeting, and I met everybody at one time. And they watched the tape, and I got up and I told them thanks. Thanks for all the stuff that they did.
Next up, it's the scariest crash ever caught on tape. Plus, a rampaging flood threatens the lives of these terrified teens. And a stunt gone bad provides a shocking ending to a daredevil stunt show. When the world's most amazing videos returns.
Melbourne, Australia. An international stock car race enters its final laps. Driver Graham O'Brien in the blue car fights his way toward the front of the pack at speeds of 140 miles per hour. Coming out of the turn, O'Brien makes a move to pass. And then, disaster. He collides with another car, flipping him end over end. Watch again. The yellow car brakes to the inside just as Graham is trying to pass, triggering the impact that launches him off the track. O'Brien's car is ripped apart in midair and flipped a total of 14 times before finally coming to rest. Emergency crews rush to the scene and try to pry Graham from the mangled wreckage. They're shocked to find him conscious and insisting that he's unharmed. Despite his protests, he is taken to the hospital for x-rays. Amazingly, he suffers only a black eye and is released. His mad dash for the finish line may have come up short. But on this day, Graham O'Brien has more than a victory. He has his life. Comfort, Texas. Torrential rains have caused the Guadalupe River to overflow its banks. The rising floodwaters have trapped several teenagers who are clutching onto the trees for dear life. Chris Ray is one of them.
The current was basically just ripping you off the tree limbs, and you had to use every bit of your strength just to hold on to that tree. I pretty much had made up my mind that I wasn't going to be alive anymore.
Then suddenly, over the roar of the raging river, Chris hears the welcome sound of a helicopter.
I'm sitting there thinking, there's no way he's going to see me. I'm up under this tree. I just pretty much started praying. I was like, God, let them see me.
Luckily, the rescue team spots him and positions their chopper above the trees. They throw Chris a rope, and the exhausted teenager ties it around his chest.
It started going through my mind, how am I going to hang on to this rope? My strength's already gone.
As the helicopter slowly lifts him up, Chris realizes that a single piece of rope could mean the difference between life and death.
I have a little fear of heights, so, I'm just sitting there hanging on to this rope for dear life.
Somehow, Chris manages to hold on long enough to reach dry land. One of the rescuers races over to find out what happened. He is shocked by what Chris tells him.
How many are there of you?
There's a bus over there, 40.
How many?
40. In the bus? Well, the bus, we all got on the bus wherever the bus started going down.
His face just went pale white. He's like, how many? I was like, there's about 40 in there.
Only now does the rescue team realize they've got a disaster on their hands. Chris had been riding in a bus filled with teenagers when it stalled alongside the flooded riverbank. Then, a ferocious wall of water swept all of them away.
We got on the bus because the bus was going under, and we went to the nearest tree, and the water just pulled us under. We grabbed a hold of the tree, and then the bus hit the tree. And some people fell off their hands and limbs, and we started floating. I don't even know how we lived.
The rescue crew has to move quickly to save Chris's friends, who have taken refuge in the trees. Pilot Kenny Meadows rushes to save the teenagers before the deadly river claims them.
When we got there, the river was still rising. With some kids that had a good place of safety, that their place of safety was rapidly becoming not a good place to be. And as the water rose, they had to turn loose in one place to try to grab onto something else.
You see a couple of them just fall out of the tree, and you're trying to reach for them, but there's just nothing you could do to grab them to help them.
Time is running out.
We didn't know where to start. We saw so many people in the river, we didn't realize, how we were going to be able to get them out.
Unfortunately, there is only one helicopter to carry out all the survivors. To make matters worse, the chopper isn't equipped for this kind of rescue operation. Because the rope is so short, Kenny is forced to fly dangerously close to the trees.
Well, if you were to get a rotor into a tree that had any size limbs to it, of course it would be a crash. It would be a disaster. There was times that our blades were probably clipping little leaves
trying to get down closer to somebody and get them.
Soon, military choppers arrive with special equipment. A soldier drops down to lift one of the kids out of the trees as the river rages below at more than 70 miles an hour. The rescue is a success, but the next one isn't so easy. The frightened girl clings to a nearby tree. She barely has the strength to hold on. As the rescuer tries to maneuver into position to grab her, he is whipped by the branches of the tree. Now he's in danger of becoming the flood's next victim. But he's not about to give up without her. He makes a second attempt. He reaches for the girl, but she's too scared to let go. Suddenly, he loses his grip. Now, barely hanging on over the deadly current, he musters the strength to pull himself back up. Then he reaches for the girl again. This time, he's got her. "33 people are rescued from the Guadalupe River. Their ravaged church bus is a painful reminder of this terrible catastrophe. Looking back on his near-death experience, Chris Ray remembers that fateful day.
I felt like there was still a lot that I wanted out of my life. I wanted to have kids. I wanted to be married. And so there's a lot that, was going through my mind. I was wondering, is this it? Is this my, my last time I'll ever have with my family?
Chris has returned safely to his parents, but other families aren't so lucky.
It was very hard. It's still very, very hard. Because we love the parents and we love the kids. And even though mine was okay, I still wanted theirs to be okay. I wanted all of them to be okay.
Chris is alive today thanks to the courageous efforts of the rescue team who saved him and many of his friends. This is the stuff that heroes are made of.
Next, a clerk is robbed twice in the same night with 2 loaded guns and a pitchfork. Plus, 2 cops get more than they can handle when they pull over the town terror.
That's a live animal, and so am I!
Then later, a deadly volcano sends firefighters running for their lives. When the world's most amazing videos returns.
Wanganui, New Zealand. Daredevils Tony Manfredos and Thomas Canara are gearing up for the grand finale of their death-defying stunt show. They plan to drive through a wall of flames and explode their car into a giant fireball. This dynamic duo has performed the risky routine dozens of times before. But when lethal explosives are involved, there is no guarantee of safety. Tony hits the gas and races straight for the wall of fire. The impact sets off an incredible display of pyrotechnics. A second, more powerful explosion detonates containers of high-octane fuel that have been placed in the car, blowing its doors and hoods sky high. Remember, this is all just part of the act. But the stunt isn't over yet. Tony and his partner bail out of the burning car, completely engulfed in flames. Although they're wearing protective suits, the fire must be put out quickly or they'll burn to death. Right on cue, the safety crew rushes in and snuffs out the fire. The stunt goes off without a hitch, just as planned. But watch this unsuspecting firefighter as he approaches the car to extinguish the remaining flames. He doesn't realize that one of the containers of fuel failed to ignite during the stunt. Wearing only minimal protection, the man staggers helplessly away from the car, on fire. This is not part of the act. With no doors on the vehicle to absorb the blast, the explosion hits the firefighter with full force. The stunt crew now faces a real life and death emergency. Within seconds, they spring into action and save the defenseless man. Thanks to the crew's quick response, the firefighter walks away from the shocking explosion with only minor injuries. Queensland, Australia. Shopkeeper Roger Granger has been the victim of several late-night robberies. But tonight, he'll get the chance to change all that. A pitchfork-wielding bandit rushes into the store, demanding that Roger hand over the cash. Rather than give in like so many times before, Roger decides he's had enough.
I just said, no, you're not getting it. You work for it like I do.
The devilish desperado tries to leap over the counter, but Roger is packing a weapon of his own, a solid steel crowbar.
Get out of here!
Roger fends off the crazed bandit, sending him away frustrated and empty-handed.
What? You come back again, you bastard!
But just as Roger begins to phone the police to report the crime, a suspicious car pulls into the parking lot. Incredibly, just seconds after the first robbery attempt, 2 more hold-up men enter the store. But these guys aren't carrying pitchforks. They're armed with shotguns. Staring down the barrel of 2 loaded guns, he wisely forks over the cash. Roger loses this round, but gets the last laugh when he reports the robber's license plate number to the police. Despite numerous robberies, Roger continues to operate the store. But these chilling images serve as a frightening reminder that the good old days of the friendly neighborhood grocer are no more. Berea, Ohio. When police officers Chris Holmes and Robert Surgener pull over a woman for reckless driving, they recognize her as Alberta, the town terror.
Quiet. Well, I need you to sign up here.
You want me to sign that, and
Okay.
I do not agree to sign it.
Right.
Do you understand?
There was always the chance when you gave Alberta a ticket, you were asking for a fun time.
Well,
I realize you have the authority, and I
Right.
can also say I do not care to sign it as it is written up.
Well, then you can subject yourself to going to jail.
When Berea's most notorious driver refuses to sign her citation, all hope for a routine traffic stop is lost.
Did you read what he wrote?
The court
Did you read what he wrote?
Yes, he did. Requires that you sign the ticket.
I had experienced this with Alberta before. She starts to crank it up, and as the anxiety level gets higher and higher, you can see the veins on her neck starting to pop out.
Do you hear what he said? The persons were on Bagley Road.
Hey, Alberta, this is an offense that you can go to jail for.
I realize that.
Okay.
Finally, Alberta gives in and signs the ticket.
You'll get it signed, okay? But did you hear me ask him nicely the first time?
Sign the ticket.
Okay. Here is my signature, and I will tell you why it's this way. There's my signature, and here you are, sir. And there's your bullets, and there's your gun. And the first time I said specify where the people are that I endanger. Do you understand? You're very
Okay,
clear.
you endangered people in
I am leaving now. You got your signature.
Suddenly, she turns her car on the officers and tries to make a getaway.
Get out of the car. Get out of the car.
No.
Get out of the car.
No, sir.
Get out of the car.
No, sir.
This reckless maneuver buys her a ticket to jail.
I signed your paper. Do you hear it? This is my personal property.
Turn around.
This is my personal property, and you have offended me. Do you hear me? And you will take care of my cat when you say roll down the window.
Although handcuffed in the back seat of the patrol car, Alberta is far from muzzled. She still has plenty to say.
Those are my glasses. You can get my glasses and my key and my cat because I pulled in a lot of your requests and I sat there for 15 minutes while you were writing me up. And that's a live animal. And so am I. And yes, your mother screams too.
Alberta's reckless driving days are over. As soon as the judge saw what these officers had been put through, he took away her license for good.
Still to come, it's a dark day in darkest Africa when a charter plane crashes in the bush. Plus, a runaway bobsled spins out of control, threatening the lives of its 4 terrified riders. And a gigantic cloud of poisonous gas explodes from a killer volcano, a natural disaster caught on tape. When the world's most amazing videos returns.
The 4-man bobsled. One of the world's most dangerous sports.
It's a 1,400-pound bullet going down, and you have to go down and thread the needle, and you have to thread it right.
No seat belts, no airbags, no brakes.
There's very, very little room for error.
Each time these racers take the track, they risk major injury, paralysis, even death. Lake Placid, New York. The U.S. bobsled team digs in at the starting gate. This notorious stretch of ice has taken its toll on many racers. But Chris Coleman and his teammates are determined to make their mark.
In our practice, we were doing extremely well. We were having the fastest times down the hill. The ice was very, very smooth, very glassy. The team was extremely excited.
The team stands at the ready as their pilot launches the fiberglass hull downhill.
Attention, center off.
The sled quickly sets a record-breaking pace, rocketing through hairpin turns at lightning speeds and soaring down straightaways at 90 miles an hour. Entering turn number 12, the team is on course for a new track record when disaster strikes.
All of a sudden, there was a silence.
The sled hits the turn too fast and too high.
And before I knew it, I was on the side. And then I said to myself, oh my God, I'm in a crash.
The bobsled spirals upside down, pinning the racers next to the ice as they hurtle down the track, slamming into turns with crushing force. Finally, the sled reaches the end of the line and limps to a stop. Crew members scramble to free the battered team from the wreckage. But only 3 of the bobsledders are able to stagger to their feet.
I remember the other guys getting out, but I remember I just couldn't move and somebody pulled me out.
Chris lies motionless as paramedics check for spinal injuries.
No.
To the relief of teammates and crew members, Chris can move his arms and legs. Incredibly, he suffers only minor injuries and is able to race again just a week later. This time, capturing the silver medal. It was a victory made sweeter by the painful reminder of what could have been.
I can't tell you how excited we were just to be up on top of that podium, but just as important, I think we were all very happy just to be alive.
Zambia, the bush country of southern Africa. Hank Boysick and his buddies are going on a safari. They've brought along a video camera to capture every exciting moment of their expedition. Their small plane barely makes it over the hills at the end of the runway. Then the pilot turns to the group with startling news.
The pilot said, hang on, I think I'm a bit overweight. It gave us a little bit of a fright, but we were in the holiday mood, so we forgot about it.
We're filming, okay? It's like you're overweight. Wait. Oh, that's good.
They don't realize that the overloaded plane is losing altitude. and fast.
When the pilot went for the field, which I recognized as not being the airstrip, I said, no, 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 no. This is not the place.
But the pilot ignores Hank's warnings. He tries to land in the rugged terrain. But when the plane slams violently into the ground, the pilot panics and shoots back up into the air.
And he tried to pull up. We went up. We saw the blue sky from going up. But we went so steep up that the alarms went off.
Seconds into the steep climb, the engine dies.
I thought, hang on, we are not going to make it.
The plane crashes. Its right wing exploding into flames.
It was silent for half a minute. And then you saw the flickering flames. Then I realized we're getting roasted here. Get out!
Somehow, the group manages to escape the wreckage.
There were no landing gear anymore. Engine was off. Part of the wing was off.
Miraculously, the men survived the fiery crash. But now, they find themselves stranded in the middle of the African bush. But luck is on their side. Local villagers see the fireball and come to their rescue. After watching their horrifying vacation video, Hank and his friends feel they are blessed.
Thank you, Lord, that we got ever out of this plane.
Mountains in Japan. It's a peaceful day in this sleepy little village until a deep rumbling thunders from one of the world's deadliest volcanoes. A tourist videotaping the scenic landscape swings his camera around just in time to capture a poisonous cloud of ash exploding over the ridge. Known as a pyroclastic flow, this eruption of 1,500-degree gas and rock speeds down the mountain, hell-bent on destruction. The volcanic blast is a terrifying sight, especially when it is bearing down on you at 200 miles an hour. The town's firefighters make a mad dash for safety, knowing that anyone caught in the cloud's killer path will not survive. Fortunately, no lives are lost during this frightening natural disaster. But this rare glimpse of a deadly pyroclastic flow is a vivid reminder of the powerful forces that lurk beneath the surface of the Earth.
New clients.
Let's go meet them soon. World's most amazing videos. It's a real-life Titanic. As an ocean liner sinks, the cowardly crew escapes on the lifeboats, leaving hundreds of frightened passengers behind. A sharpshooter takes aim and brings a tense standoff to a shocking conclusion. And a gas truck collides with a speeding train, causing the most devastating explosion ever caught on tape. Next time on the world's most amazing videos.